Brothers and sisters, welcome back to my channel, and today we're gonna talk about a deck that has been dominating the TCG scene. Yes, I'm talking about Mitsurugi Yummi, a deck that has been present over and over in the top 8 of each Wises, taking at least 4 slots each Wises. A deck that has been built in a certain way, and today I'm here to explain you why it has been built in a certain way, decisions behind the flex spots, and some combo lines in order to let you understand why certain things are made or done in a certain way. Today we're gonna analyze deeply the strategy of the deck, and remember to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell in order to have more updates about my next videos over the TCG meta decks, and also sometimes I'm gonna also go over Master Duel meta and gameplay. I mean, I won Worlds, I might as well just do some Master Duel content. And if you wanna have more insights about the meta decks, the meta strategy, the way to counter it, and the next pick for your next Wises, remember to subscribe. The Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is a platform that will allow you to grow as a player, and we will give you a testing circle in order to improve your technical plays. Enough talking, let's delve into the Yummi Mitsurugi. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the decklist. Why it's built like this. You have been seeing a lot of people such as Thrift making videos over videos over videos. Why Mitsurugi strategy, blah blah blah, 60 cap. Bro, let's calm down a sec and let's talk about Mitsurugi Yummi, like the real one. The 40 card decklist. You can play 43. I'm actually a fan of 43, which will probably be my pick for a next event, because like 43 is my favorite number. 3 Capsi, 3 Marshmallow, and 1 Lollipop, 1 Cookie. So why it's 1 Lollipop and why it's 1 Cookie? First of all, Capsi and Marshmallow are the best way to play around cards such as Nibiru, and they can also respect Nibiru +1 in a lot of their combos and variations. While Lollipop and Cookie can only play around Nibiru if you play the Metal Marcher in the extra deck, which is not being really played right now, and also because it's only Lollipop and Cookie, right? It's like if you open Lollipop plus another name, you can play around Nibiru. You can play around Nibiru +1. If you open Lollipop Cookie together, you can play around Nibiru and Nibiru +1. If you open any of those plus like the other engine, Mitsurugi cards, you can also play around Nibiru and Nibiru +1. So the fact that Lollipop and Cookie do lose to Nibiru, it's not really a big of a concern in my opinion. That's why people have been cutting Metal March, which in my first iteration of the deck I had it because I was not really sure about how I could combo with Lollipop and Cookie, because they were actually the main starter that I used in order to do my combo patterns when I was testing in solo mode and stuff. So I kind of got tricked there, and that's why I put the Metal Marcher, because I was noticing that the line had some flaws around Nibiru. There is a way to respect Nibiru with the Cookie and Lollipop, but it's a very bad way. It's a very bad sequencing in my opinion that I would not suggest. I might show it to you or we can talk about it, but to be honest, it's a sequencing that I would not suggest, because you lose quite a lot in order to play around Nibiru with the Lollipop and Cookie. The Mitsurugi cards, 3 obviously Habakiri, 3 prayers. The pre-prep is something that it's not really mandatory to play. Like, you don't have to play pre-prep and mirror just to have more copies of Habakiri. And one of each ritual. I do think that having Habakiri, Murakumo, and Futsu are quite necessary into the deck. Like it's not even for the fact that it's Futsu. Like, it doesn't really matter. The Futsu is a brick per se. It's more about you being able to trigger a ritual in order to add a Mitsurugi card from your deck to your hand, which comes up in several game states. And having the Futsu to trigger in the graveyard changes quite a lot, in my opinion, in terms of the combo, in terms of the rotation, in terms of how you play into a board going second. The level 4s that are Saji, Aramasa, and Kusanagi. I did try a variant without those. I was only playing Saji. You can actually cut Futsu, Saji, and Kusanagi and still be able to actually play the deck. My main concern was that going second, the strategy felt very weak because I did not have a full Mitsurugi rotation. And going first, if my opponent was able to break my board with board breakers, I did not have the Mitsurugi grind. So the deck felt a lot worse into cards like Dark Ruler No More and combinations of Lightning Storm +1. Flex spots, in my opinion, the best flex spots at the moment are Fuwalos, Ash, Droll, and we might talk about the presence of Impermanence over Dark Ruler. Impermanence is simply here just to stop the FTK. If you have a better plan against the FTK, you can just main deck Dark Ruler No More and just side the Impermanence, which is something that we saw people doing in Rio during the previous Wises, which I think it's very fair in my opinion. Something that I would highly suggest are, especially against the FTK, is the Gamma Delta package, because the Delta is actually not bad against the FTK, right? Because if they establish a Reaper, they usually try to play around the Droll by not utilizing the other effects of the K9 to not add and just make a raw Reaper, and then they get access into case. Otherwise they lose to Droll. I mean, it's not like they lose to Droll, they just simply cannot FTK under Droll. So they usually do the Reaper, and then they go for case, right? Like the Delta is supposed to stop case. If it does not stop case because your opponent can simply negate it with Reaper, then you can just stop inclusion at the next activation of a spell, because the Delta is not hard once per turn, or it's not once per turn at all. So I do believe that Delta Gamma should be present in your side deck. Right now you see my main deck and side deck. I think I'm just discussing the flex spots right now. If we want to discuss more about the deck list in general, we can talk about how the deck list, how much space the deck list has, if you don't include the pre-prep mirror, right? Like you have 19 flex spots and 3 flex spots in the extra deck. Yeah, Impermanence could be Dark Ruler No More if you want to respect more the mirror, which I think it's a fair assumption. You guys might decide to do that. And in the side deck, I would definitely suggest the Gamma package with the Delta. Probably like 3 Delta, 1 Gamma, 1 Driver, and call it a day if you draw the Driver. Fuck it. You don't really need a Lightning Storm, in my opinion. It feels a lot worse right now that the meta is more refined. I felt that the card was very good at the start of the format. Right now I feel like the card is not that crazy. Just like that the meta is more refined. I do personally like Metal Tronus, especially in the mirror, because you can target your opponent Herald of the Arclight, summon your own Herald of the Arclight in the extra monster zone, and link it away for Gravity Controller, and then use Herald in the graveyard to add Habakiri. That's broken. That's a super trade. Like you get a body on the board, you negate an opponent monster, and you add Habakiri in your hand. So against Mitsurugi Yummi, it's an extremely good strategy. You guys might see the Wozu. I'm playing it for Lunalight. I think Lunalight is a very sleeper pick right now, and many people might actually go for it. But I don't think the deck is good enough to compete. So it's just like to avoid a random loss. The barrier, I don't need to explain the presence of the barrier in my side deck, and purification. Now for the extra deck, as you guys may have seen, there are 3 flex spots, right? The flex spots that I'm talking about are Dynamondo, Gorgon, and 1 Snatchy. Do you need those 3 cards? No, you don't need those 3 cards, but are definitely good utility. I would not replace those cards for anything else if I would only take in consideration 2 cards. Those cards if we end up playing Izuna in the main deck, because there is something that we'll need to discuss about, and are the choke points of this deck and how to actually counter the strategy of this deck, which is still very difficult because I was able to find some solutions, but it's something worth to discuss. Let's go over some combo lines. As I told you guys, the Cookie and Lollipop combo has some issues, but Marshmallow or Capsi or Habakiri or Prayers, those cards do not have issues at all. Same with pre-prep, obviously. Let's go over like the combo with Marshmallow. Marshmallow special summon itself into Snatchy. Snatchy effect put field spell special summon. The Marshmallow go into Capsi Yummy way. Usually if you guys have an Ash Blossom, you should be stopping the Capsi Yummy way. I have seen people like using it on normal summon Capsi, which makes close to 0 sense. You do want to stop me to have access to another level 1, because another level 1 is huge. If you see that I have to level 1 in rotation, your Ash is basically dead, and you should try to use it as a way to bait my Herald, like using Ash on the second effect of Mitsurugi Ritual. So I have to use the Herald there, and sometimes people might actually misplay the sequencing, and they might not being able to recover the Herald from the graveyard. So I would suggest you to hold the Ash on Capsi Yummy way, or if you see to level 1 in rotation, just keep it as a way to bait the Herald. Add Cookie, add Capsi, special summon Capsi, add Surprise, obviously we check out. Then we go into Snatchy using Capsi Yummy way, and then we use those 2 to summon Lollipop. Lollipop is gonna summon 2 from the graveyard into some Samsara Shien, and use the 2 for Herald in the extra monster zone. Why is it important, this sequencing? Because as you can see, if my opponent Nibiru me at any point, I can still get the Herald in rotation, because I still have Surprise to use and Cookie. And I had to convert Lollipop and a level 1 into a Synchro 4, and the only way to do that was using Lollipop, which means that we are gonna end on Cookie on the board, which is not that big of a deal, to be honest, because Cookie is literally the last thing that you want to summon anyways. Gravity Controller add Habakiri, and then we go into an Habakiri rotation using Saji, getting Ritual from hand, Kusanagi, Aramasa, Chilling 1, Chilling 2. With Aramasa we add Futsu. I rather prefer obviously Aramasa and Chilling 2, because if you go Kusanagi and Chilling 2 might be problematic into some bell if your opponent like is holding a bell, because like, you know, belling minion feels so neg. Add back the Ritual spell for Futsu, summon Murakumo, Shelling 1 Futsu, add Mirror, use Mirror in order to rebound Futsu, tributing the Habakiri, and then we use Habakiri effect in order to add Prayers, and we special summon back Habakiri. We special summon Cookie, and after that we can go for Cookie Yummy way. Now here is the thing, I don't like to keep the Futsu on the field, I rather prefer keeping the Murakumo on the field. Plays better into Dark Ruler, because under Dark Ruler you cannot use the second effect of Prayers in order to reborn from the graveyard. So in order to play around the Dark Ruler, we have to end on Murakumo on the field. We're gonna use 2 bodies in order to make IP, and then special summon Marshmallow with Surprise, add back Surprise with Marshmallow, and then go into Sorrow Cat, summon back itself, and make Herald again. Set Prayers, set, and this is basically our end board with just 1 Marshmallow that totally respects Nibiru. Even Nibiru +1, you can also respect Nibiru +1, but you need to normal summon a monster from your end, because in this entire combo line we did not normal summon at all. Because you can establish an IP very early on. When you have Gravity Controller on the field, right? we can like summon anything, or you can actually just use the Murakumo. You can either respect Nibiru +1, you can respect the Dark Ruler. If you link away the Murakumo, you can make an IPSP, because prayers was not used this turn, right? So we could use prayers. We could have used prayers when we had the gravity controller on the field. Tribute Murakumo, add Habakiri, special summon a level 4 from the graveyard. Murakumo triggers, add another prayers, and then we can use the Murakumo and the monster on the field in order to make an SP under the like in the zone that gravity controller points to, and that SP is gonna check Nibiru at any point. Like, you eat Nibiru as breakfast, in my opinion, like if you do that. And it's a very simple line to do. If you want to keep the Murakumo on the field, you have to normal summon something. You can simply just surrender on the Yummi on the field, which is, in my opinion, very doable. I don't really care about having this Yummi on the field if I have surprise set, which I think it's super fair, in my opinion. I don't really care. Yeah. So this is the main line. There are several variations. Again, if you guys are interested on the different several variations of this deck and how to play it properly into boards with this deck, etc., you can subscribe to the Inner Circle, or you can simply study it on your own by watching this video, as I give you some hints about how to properly perform those combos. The second line that we're going to talk about is the Habakiri combo. Habakiri for Sagi, add the ritual spell in order to summon Habakiri from end. Chilling 1, Chilling 2 with Aramasa, we add the Futsu, we add back ritual spell with Aramasa, and then we go ritual spell from deck, summon Murakumo, tribute to the Futsu effect is gonna add mirror. We're gonna use mirror, tribute Habakiri, summon Futsu, Habakiri effect, add prayer, special summon itself, and we use those two to summon a zombie vampire on top. I still like to leave the Murakumo on the field. Murakumo on the field, first of all, plays better around bestials by just summoning it from the deck and keep it on board. But also, like, this, if my opponent tries to impair my zombie vampire, Ash, Bell, my zombie vampire, I always have a Murakumo that's gonna trade for 2 entraps, and then if I have any level 1 in my hand, I can combo with the zombie vampire. We are gonna assume that we mill the level 1, which in this case is a draw and lock, but which is basically in every main deck. We mill 4 from our deck and 4 from our opponent deck list. From the opponent deck list, and we can just special summon any level 1. We're gonna turn the zombie vampire into gravity controller. In these lines, since I only started with Habakiri, you obviously are gonna, like, you are gonna be obviously have like 4 more cards in your hand. Like, if you open a Full, so you don't need to activate this prayer here. Summon back the Futsu, use Murakumo effect, Chilling to mirror, add another prayers. And here I have also the discard fodder for my Capsi Yummi Way. I'm gonna add the Marshmallow and I'm gonna add Capsi. We never normal summon it, so I can add Marshmallow very easily. Summon Capsi, add Surprise, and then we're gonna use Snatchy. We're gonna link away the Capsi Yummi Way into Snatchy. Snatchy effect is gonna activate minion. Use the 2 in order to summon Lollipop. So we're gonna use the Lollipop in order to get back the Capsi, and the level 1 in order to go into some Sarashien. Then we're gonna normal summon the Marshmallow and use Shien and Marshmallow in order to make Herald of the Arclight. We're gonna use Surprise in order to special summon back the Marshmallow to add back the Surprise. And then we can use the Futsu and the Marshmallow in order to go into IP Masquerena. This is the endboard that we are looking for every time that we are playing this deck. There are several different ways to achieve this, and it really doesn't matter if you ash the Herald of the Arclight in the graveyard, or if you keep the Herald, like an interruption for the Herald of the Arclight in order to search Habakiri if I start with a Yummi, because I can recycle it, make it again, and just use the effect again. Like, Herald of the Arclight is not once per turn, and that's very unfortunate, because that means that you will never be able to stop the me getting into the Mitsurugi rotation, especially if I have a second ritual spell too. So it becomes, in my opinion, extremely difficult to entrap this deck if you actually don't open a card like such as a Yummi. That's why in most of the deck lists that you will see topping, we'll have 3 Fualos, 3 Meowls, which is very decent against this deck, and 3 Dark Ruler. And then like the standard Ash, Blossom, Droll, and Lockbird. But like Ash Blossom, it's like doesn't really matter at this point. It's just an out to Fualos. Like people are playing Ash Blossom just to out Fualos. That's it. Ash Blossom really doesn't do a lot against this deck. I guess it does quite decently if I don't have a way to get if I don't open Capsi, and you can decide like just to Ash the Capsi Yummi way. So if I synchro summon into Capsi Yummi way and you Ash it and I don't have a level 1, then it's okay, I would say, but it's still very hard to win at that point because you still need a board breaker in conjunction. If you guys open, for example, Dark Ruler Ash Blossom and I start with Capsi, I might actually say that you actually start with like Ash and the normal summon of the Capsi because that gets me into surprise, right? So you can out my main line, which is my monster line on the field, like in the main monster zone and extra monster zone with Dark Ruler or more, and I don't have surprise set and I have only prayer. So that's why people have been playing Dark Ruler in the main deck because it's a very decent counter. Like it's actually a very good counter against this deck. As I said, this is the deck list. I would definitely like, if you guys are expecting more mirrors playing Dark Ruler in the main deck, I still like Call by Talent. Talent is kinda weird, but Call Led, I like it a lot. And then, for other variant that I was studying, there is a K9 Mitsurugi. Now, for K9 Mitsurugi, it's hard in my opinion because this was actually another variant that I was gonna study, or that I studied actually. And the amount of flex spots just are very concerning, and the K9 cards in general are not very convincing. The way they push into board going second, they commit way too much in terms of board presence in order to have just one simple push. That makes me think that K9 is, as an engine to break boards going second, is not good enough. Jokul, for example, right? Like committing a Jokul plus level 5 from your end, it's 2 cards from your end, and they are not triggered, they are an ignition effect. Like if Jokul to search was triggered, that wouldn't make so much of a difference. It's crazy. But the fact that it's an ignition effect, in my opinion, generates a lot of issues and makes the engine kinda hard to pilot for a going second. Izuna, on the other side, and that's literally the only reason why I wanted to play this deck, or that I wanted to theorize over it or study it, is the fact that Izuna alone is very threatening against the Mitsurugi Yummi variant. Like, people do not recognize how good is Izuna against Mitsurugi Yummi because they did not see it in action. Now, if we talk about this deck list specifically, right? And I summon twice from my extra deck. As you can see in all the combos that I showed, I summon like twice very early on from my extra deck. If my opponent goes Izuna, send Lupus, summon Lupus, and summon Typhoon in the extra monster zone using Lupus, there is not much you can do, unfortunately. As you can see, there is not a real out to the Typhoon made with Lupus in the extra monster zone. Because you would say, okay, I just make IP and I summon Gorgon in my opponent too. Right. That's a possibility. But the issue is that Gorgon, like, you have to make it in the middle if my opponent summons Typhoon in the extra monster zone. So, you know, it's absurdly hard, and also you are locked from summoning Link 3 or more by Snatchy effect to place a field spell. There are ways to play around it, and it's actually not making the Herald and just do it at the end of the battle phase, which is definitely an option, but it becomes, in my opinion, very hard to play around the Typhoon made with Lupus. So my idea was substantially to push 3 Lupus in the main deck with 3 Zuna and build a deck that has 3 Lupus, 3 Zuna, which is, in my opinion, the only way to have a sort of quote-unquote counter against the Mitsurugi Yummi. Now, is it perfect? No. For example, the thrift list has Linkuribo in the extra deck. The Yummi variant with Solfacord do have Linkuribo. And Linkuribo is very threatening. The issue is that if they have Linkuribo in the graveyard, Typhoon cannot attack over Herald, and you cannot make Zeus. So the way that Izuna alone can threaten entire board actually is Izuna, Lupus into Typhoon in the extra monster zone. It's very important it to be in the extra monster zone, otherwise you guys lose to Gorgon. Attack over Herald, and then in main phase 2 make a Zeus that can out the entire board. Now, does it lose to any impermanence on Zeus? It does. Yes, you do lose to any impermanence on Zeus, and that's why you should be playing in the main deck Droplet if you decide to go for that strategy. I think it's decent. I'm studying it, I'm working on it. There are several counters to it. The last time I tried to build variants with those, like with the 3 Lupus, 3 Zuna, I still was not able to beat the deck, but this choke point is super interesting, and it's something that I have been studying a lot recently. And that's it. So this is the deck list. I mean, those are the flex spots in the deck list that you can decide if you want to play Reaper or not, or Mirror or not, and you can just play 19 flex spots. You have 3 flex spots in the extra that I already told you guys what to play. This was Mitsurugi Yummi from my perspective. Hope you guys liked it, and if you like this kind of content, remember to subscribe, comment, because that's how you boost my videos, in order to get more views, and that means that I know that you guys appreciated it, and that means that I will put more stuff like this in the future, because every time I do those kind of videos they don't do very well for some reasons, and that's literally why most of the content creators just do, you know, don't do competitive, which I do understand. But yeah, if you guys like those kind of videos, remember to ring the bell for the notification, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below your thoughts about my my combos and the way that I the way that I think about the deck and how to counter it. Let me know your thoughts. See you. Kiss kiss.